Hello, everyone. Welcome to LeadUpTeach on YouTube Live with Elizabeth Bostwick, Heidi Veal, and me. Heidi could not be with us tonight, and we miss her already. I'm Laura Gilchrist, and I'm an instructional coach and longtime teacher in Kansas City. I'm passionate about designing learning experiences, schools, communities, and cities around our kids so that they walk confidently into their futures. Tonight, we're excited to welcome Dr. Joe Mazza, who is CEO and co-founder of Makerdads. We're here to chat about father engagement through innovation. Liz, please take a minute to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Laura. Well, hello, LeadUpTeach. I'm Elizabeth Bostwick, and I'm a teacher in New York. I'm passionate about empowering learners by fostering a culture where innovative thinking flourishes and all students shine. Joe, we're just pumped to have you on tonight. And by the way, if anybody wants to connect with Joe, go to Twitter and connect with him using @Joe_Mazza and @Makerdads. His website is facebook.com with /Makerdads. Joe, we are ready to be inspired with you. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Good to see you. Coming to you live from my garage outside my house. This used to be a two-story, two-car garage, and we moved into this house about 1.5 years ago, and as soon as we got all the junk out of here for our house, we started building it into a makerspace. So happy to be here with you guys, talk a little bit about our work. I've got 4 kids, 5-year-old, set of twins that are 15 months, and my baby girl turns 3 tomorrow. So when I get done with you guys, got to go in and meet the wife, and we're going to put together her little, what do we got? Our kitchen set, little kitchen set from, I don't know, somewhere, some Amazon box. So yeah, we're moving and shaking over here at the Mazza house, and we're just loving every minute of it. So thanks for having me on, and it's going to be exciting to talk to you guys and meet some other parents out there that also do making at home.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Joe, and I cannot wait to see what you've got in store for us. You seem to be in your home in a makerspace, so looking forward to that. We want to give a special welcome to our LeadUpTeach audience here on YouTube. We invite everyone to use the hashtag LeadUpTeach to connect and participate with the chat both during and after the conversation. So Joe Mazza, I met thanks to Twitter, and let's see, I got on a Voxer book study with Joe. It was Beyond the Bake Sale, and that was really I'm still connected with those people, and that's kind of led to the parent camp thing that Joe has led out. He's really big on family school engagement and truly an inspiration to me, and he makes me laugh. And he's got family. He lives in Philly, and he's got some family here in KC, so every once in a while I get to see him here in KC. So to get us started, Joe, please share about your journey that led you to be the inspiring educator that you are today.
Oh, wow. So I, like I said, when I met you, Laura, back in 2011, 2012, when a lot of us educators were just trying to see what Twitter had to offer, we were so sick and tired of the sit and get PD and the things that were just very boring, and it just was a lot of it was a waste of our time. You know, a lot of us took to Twitter, and that's when I met you. And I think back to those years, and I didn't have any children. So I got into family community engagement. I chose a dissertation topic around social media and how it, intersects with the community and the schools, and how we really kind of get people talking in the same space when they're not in the same physical space. So, talking about PT Camp, that was the first Voxer book chat that we did, of course, and I reference that chat a lot. Voxer is one of the areas that we're supporting schools with right now, starting next week with Laura Fleming's book chat on making great makerspaces. So we've evolved the PT Camp model to put it into what we're doing with Makerdads, where it fits, so we can help teachers like yourself find their tribe. And in 2018, if you haven't found your tribe, whether you're a parent, a teacher, or an administrator, that is a choice today. Before it was a lonely field. But now you can kind of find those tribes out there, much like LeadUpTeach and Makerdads and all these awesome communities that moms and dads, teachers, and community members can pick from today. So I was a school principal. I'm in my 4th year as a recovering elementary school principal. I love the job. I miss it. I want to go back there sometimes until I think about, you know, how many nights I'd have to be there, and I'm able to do what I'm doing with Makerdads now and see my kids grow up. I'm able to take them to school in the morning. I'm able to read to them. I'm able to help mom out whenever I can, although she's a machine. You know, I got my own personal Wonder Woman, and that's what I'm the co-founder, because she's the other part of the co-founder. Without her, none of what I'm doing right now is able to happen. So, you know, I've spent the last 4 or 5 years doing some consulting work. I've done keynotes, I've done workshops, I've done conferences, innovations labs, but now I'm really working on 12-month contracts with schools. You know, I've stepped back at Penn a little bit, so I'm just teaching a couple classes there, and I basically have my whole plate back where I can do what I love, but also design models of PD for school staff that is relevant, is relationship-based, is connected over a period of 12 months. So I'll get into what I'm doing, but loving the Makerdads work. I live it at home 365, but I'm also trying to work to build a culture of family engagement in schools. And, you know, typically family engagement, when you go to a school to an event, there's a lot of moms and strollers. And, you know, I'm seeing now, I'm starting to have school-age kids. I have every opportunity to be there just as well as Laura does. So I'm, you know, looking to, you know, empower my dad, granddad, and other male role model colleagues out there that play a role in the kid's life. Elementary school, middle school, high school, college, like that daddy hat shouldn't ever expire. So I'm starting with pre-K. That's what this is. It's a pre-K makerspace behind me. I'm excited to show you guys what I'm doing in here. And there's some of it that's orderly and some of it's a hot mess. But I think it's always in beta. We're always doing something that pushes us a little further and it allows us to ask questions. And just excited to share it with you guys tonight.
Well, awesome. I love hearing all about it. And so, Joe, what great educators do differently in Geneva, New York? I know that you had that Maker van there, and you were talking a lot about Makerdads. So share with us, what is Makerdads?
Yeah. So yeah, you're talking about the What Great Educators Do Differently conference up in Rochester, New York. Awesome conference. Jimmy Casas and Jeff Zoll run it. I've gotten involved with supporting them, you know, since they got started. And 2 really inspiring guys, 2 really inspiring dads. And if you don't know who they are, definitely look them up. They're doing some really great things. So Makerdads really is an opportunity for me to throw everything in here into a black van and drive it to the school. I park it, and let's just say it's an elementary school. I'll park it in the middle of the playground if it's summer, or if we're at Todd Schmidt's school, because most of his days are outside every day because they live in Los Angeles, California. But typically it's in a gym. And you may have seen pictures from Jenny Nallman's Makerdads a couple weeks ago. We thought there was going to be 150, 200 people show up, and we had over 400 people, over 200 dads and kids accounted for from the school. And that was kind of like, that was my 4th school this year. We just started this, and we're calling it a family startup. You know, we started in September. We're just finishing up month 5, and we're learning a lot. You know, both my wife and I are both teachers, so we went to school for elementary education, and you know, I got a minor in Spanish, she got a minor in special education, and there's no business savvy in any of those courses. So a lot of how you go out on your own and start a new business or a startup, you know, that's really us, you know, just playing this whole lead learner role and just really going out there, talking to the people that we know. I just had a conversation with Jeff Zoll yesterday, and I talked with Jimmy over Voxer today, you know, about planning a Makerdads retreat for dads and kids this summer. So don't have details on that yet, but, you know, that's something that I'm following how to come about. And, you know, if we could make a really cool relationship-based activity all around making for 2 full days with dads and kids, I think we can do it. So anyway, Makerdads, you park at the school 2 days. Day 1 is all kids all day. So the teachers bring the grade levels down an hour at a time. They basically get a taste of all the stations that are out there. And usually about 20 stations per school. We're up to 58 stations like created. But like Principal Nauman, she got her students involved right away. So they chose the 20 stations that came to their school. And, you know, STEAM, all the stations relate to one or more of those areas as it relates to STEAM. So that's all day one. Later that night, we'll have a dad, granddad, other male role model event where they get 2-3 hours to themselves to go and spend time at any station they want to. So there's a 3D printing station, there's a coding station, there is a Minecraft station, there's Home Depot, Kids Workshop Station. Home Depot sent 15 employees, and I just blogged about this last week. They sent 15 employees from all over the state of Delaware, New Jersey, to help us put that event on. And come to know it, any school in America could call Home Depot and say, hey, next month we want to have a Makerdads, a Maker Moms, whatever you want to call it, event, and they'll come out and support you. So some of the Makerdads work is really showing schools and teachers and communities what's possible, what's low budget. Everything in here, for the most part, has been either outside of somebody's, you know, trash bin to throw out. My wife loves it when I come home with a whole bunch of pallets and a whole bunch of junk in the back of the truck, by the way, because I'm really into retro tech. But anyway, we do the big splash. We have all the people over. The next day, on day 2 of Makerdads, I'm meeting with teachers all day. So the teachers kind of see what transpired the day before. You know, where did the kids spend the most time on the stations? You know, tech autopsy is usually a really popular station because we gather up some tech from around the school, around the district, obsolete things that parents donate, and we take them apart. And kids are all about being able to take it apart. You know, I introduced these clamshells as if they were 2018 models, knowing that when I started being a teacher back in the late 90s, early 2000s in Chicago, that was on my desk as a computer. So, you know, kids love to be able to be hands-on with things, and not only the fine motor skills of taking apart and identifying like where's the brain of the computer, where's the heart, but then we're harvesting keys for pre-K and first grade. Then we're trying to find other parts of the computer maybe we can use to launch our jewelry store. So to speak. So there's a lot of tie-ins there. The teachers need to see where the kids spent their time. If I talk with them before the kids do all that, then I'm really trying to help them imagine what this culture of making looks like. But once they've seen the pictures, I'll have all, you know, I take like 100 pictures. I'll have them all scrolling on Google Photos while I'm meeting with the teachers all the next day. So I'll meet with them at 45 minutes a spot, PLC meetings. And together I tell them, hey, your principal has kind of rented me out for the year. And for the next 12 months, I'm going to be giving you a variety of different learning opportunities so I can support you in understanding what's possible with making, what's high tech, low tech. We're getting into virtual reality. And 95% of the teachers I talk to in the schools that I've worked with so far have never even touched the VR headset, even though you can buy them for $14 at Walgreens. Have never seen a 360 camera before. So we're going to take that really slow. We're launching a YouTube channel, which we'll talk about, that really is aimed to be both kid and adult friendly, to view, to watch. And it's going to offer little simple tips on how to get started in this. And really, we need to inspire and empower. So putting little ideas out there, and just like we've been doing on Twitter for years, you put something out there, somebody's going to take it to the next level. And my goal is connect all the schools I'm working with and help each of the teachers and the principals and the kids and the parents find their respective tribes through the work that I'm doing. Because, you know, the principals are going to need another principal that's working to build a makerspace in their school. You know, the teacher who seems to be the doer and the one that gets stuck doing a lot of these things is going to need support out there. You know, how do you allocate all the different responsibilities? How do you make it owned by the school? And not just the principal running it or a head teacher, so to speak. So within a month later, I give the principal report of everything I learned about their school in those 2 days, and I encourage them to follow along with goals. So like their short-term, long-term goals, it just depends on the culture of the school, where they are with doing the things, and then I sign on to work with them for 12 months. So one of the activities during the 12 months that I work with them, so this whole Makerdads thing, 2-day splash, goal plan, and then 12 months with the school. So it's really a 12-month thing. Each of these schools I'm working with, I'm going to know every one of their teachers, every one of their principals. I've got their students sending me 3D files, all kinds of crazy fun stuff, but it's supposed to be relationship based. You know, this is my finishing up my 20th year in the field. So what have I learned? I've learned that if it's not personal to me, or if there's no empathy, if there's no follow-up, and if it's not connected, it's just a one-day thing for me. And I don't think teachers and principals should have to have that at all times. I think we should have some choice. That's what I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create a network where I connect these teachers that really want to push forward, but like me and you, we didn't grow up in this generation. You know, my Commodore 64 was not connected to the internet. The turtles that I was moving in math class were not connected to the internet. You know, I didn't have social media, thank goodness, in college or high school or whatnot. But these kids are graduating, and Google's paying them 120 grand out of high school if they know how to code. So, you know, all of this starts at home as parents, but pre-K, elementary school, middle school, high school. How do we kind of support schools on the ground that really want to do this, but maybe they just haven't found a way to change their culture? So that's kind of what the Makerdads piece is. And again, I'm learning a lot this first year. I'm trying to focus on just doing a really good job at every school, not focusing on marketing. You know, we're a 2-person show, my wife and I, so we don't have a lot of, you know, we don't have mailers or anything like that going out to tell schools about it. So really it's Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and my friends that I've met and worked with over the last 5-10 years in this connected space that are really kind of opening some doors for us and letting people know about it. So, and we appreciate you guys tonight for getting the word out.
Well, Joe, I'm just envisioning you driving in a big van across the country. And I love it. So I'm assuming you don't take the van every time. You do a lot of virtual support after the van?
Yeah, so, you know, there's a monthly touch point for each school. You know, on average, it's been about like a half day in service where I'll be virtually with them during their in-services. That's one area. And then the next piece is, hey, there's hashtags on Twitter. We want them connecting with other educators. So I'm going to kind of help that process along and play dot connector, a job that I borrowed from Kyle Pace, who is the ultimate dot connector, who is also out there in Missouri. We're also going to have book chats. So Making Great Makerspaces, Laura's new book, is perfect for the work that I'm doing here in this room, but also the work that elementary, middle school, and high schools are doing. So it's a workbook. You can write all over it. You can have dialogue about it. So March 5th, we'll start the Boxer book chat. We'll do a 1 week on just introducing each other on Boxer. Because again, these are all the schools that I've been working at. We're bringing all of them together into one community.
One giant Boxer group.
Yes, cohort 1, Makerdads cohort 1 is kind of what we're calling it right now. And every 2 weeks there'll be a new chapter. Laura Fleming's agreed to come on a couple times and join us. So that's going to be what we do. And maybe we start another book a couple months later. But this is the kind of activity that we're going to be providing for teachers, for principals. If the culture is open to it, parents, absolutely. And there might even be use cases where we bring students in. If we want to value student voice, then we've got to curate that student voice, and maybe we play it at other times. Maybe Boxer is a possibility there. But I think it's going to be really up to the teachers and the principals and the parents in terms of, all right, I put this model out there, now help me evolve it. You know, I have the initial empathy. I've been working on this for 4 or 5 years now, just thinking about how to bring all of these passion projects together, because this summer we're going to host a parent camp. And I've never hosted a parent camp. I've always attended them and helped with them, but I'm going to host my first parent camp. And that's really exciting because I can bring Makerdads in and have a giant parent camp all on, you know, engaging dads in education.
And it's going to be in Philly?
Yeah, it's going to be right here. It's going to be right here in Elkins Park, Philadelphia. And you'll hear about it in probably about 2 weeks. We'll be ready to put stuff out about it. But
awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a 2-day summit.
Well, thank you so much. There's a follow-up question I want to ask about the dads, but for now, I want to know what's going on behind you. It looks like you are in your garage. Okay,
so we'll just start up front here. I've got a 25-foot white wall over here in the front, and again, this is my garage. So all these walls were the garage doors, and there were doors on it and whatnot. So we sealed that off, drywalled the whole thing, painted it white. One of our next moves is to buy the Sherwin-Williams paint and do the whole thing. So it becomes a giant whiteboard.
Wow, that's pretty
fun. A Nareva span system on it. Nareva was Makerdads' first sponsor, and they came in and equipped us with a span system. So I've got a 25-foot interactive wall that I can do lots of cool stuff on. I can interact. I can do, you know, when I do get those schools together with PD, I'll have each of their goals and each of their strategies up on the wall, and then I can share that across all of the schools. So now they're not reinventing the wheel, so to speak. So what you saw up there is actually a Google sheet of all the different stations that are going to one of our schools. So this is where I bring my family in. My 5-year-old likes to help load the van. I use milk crates, and every milk crate is a different father engagement station. He's kind of in charge of inventory, so to speak. Over here, my father-in-law just finished helping me with this. Helping me meaning I cleaned up the dust and he did the building. This is kind of a workshop, so you can bang over here. You know, you can put things together. We've got Home Depot Kids Workshop stuff going on over here. There's some old tech here that we can take apart and harvest for other parts. Yesterday, we just got back from capturing a 360 video on virtual reality, so we're unpacking that here. And this is kind of like my spot when I come in the morning. I take Mark to preschool, and I come out here and work. And the last 3 days, it's been 70 degrees in Philadelphia, but starting tomorrow, it's going back to the 20s. So I got this little kerosene heater that I've been using this year on a low budget to make do. The next part, I'm going to keep going around, is like the crap that's left over from organization. And these are I'm in the process of building more shelves in here, places to put things underneath, above. But this is kind of like the area where I still really haven't mastered. And I think this is me saying, you know what, like I could show you a perfect makerspace, but show me a house that has everything together and a makerspace that's completely clean. There's just not enough time in the day. And I've got some skills in this world, but being uber organized in my spaces is not one of them. You know, so I've always got a place where I'm in beta working. This is kind of the wood shop area. So we did a lot of our Christmas presents with pallets this year. My wife got into the Cricut, and it became like, you know what, why doesn't every PTA have a Cricut so they can be helping their school make their own swag? Yeah, so that's that. You'll see a big tube TV back there. That's our Nintendo 1982 station where we want to play some retro gaming. The stairwell, we're not going to go up there tonight, but upstairs is kind of like the mindfulness area of the makerspace. There's no technology up there. There's couches up there, a place where you can read, and a place where we can write. Cafe, so to speak, going on up there. So a lot calmer up there. Here it's a little nuts. And then finally over here is kind of the art center. We use pallets to stack them and use them for shelving. Got a 3D printer here, and we've shut that down this week. The last 2 weeks, we printed so many Lombardi trophies, Laura. It was unbelievable. We must have printed 25 of them, and I didn't even keep one for myself. I gave them to like every Eagles fan I knew. But yeah, so we've been busy on that front. And then
congrats by the way.
To get out is over there. So that's kind of a box. It's basically like a full-size classroom in here, and I am designing this room so it mirrors the work that elementary schools and middle schools and high schools are doing in their own spaces. So when I'm on camera live with a school, you know, I can say, all right, well, this is what my station looks like. This is what the directions look. This is how I'm organizing. And then we can start sharing ideas with each other, because each of these schools and each of these makerspaces are going to make my makerspace better just by understanding what they're doing, what they're producing, you know, inside there.
Well, it allows them to ask questions, because a lot of people don't even have basic knowledge about what to put in a makerspace.
Yeah, and I really appreciate how you're immersing yourself in the experience by just having the home makerspace. So you can really make it relevant to everything that the schools are doing.
Yeah, I think we need to continue to make it flexible. I mean, we don't have a huge budget for designing a makerspace right now. You're not going to see, I can't think of that. When you go to a conference, this place always has like the best setup. It looks like uber modern, looks like you're on a spaceship. Anyway, you're not going to find that out here. I mean, this is like Craigslist Central. A lot of Craigslist free is in here. A lot of hand-me-downs, a lot of stuff that people were throwing out that I've got a big enough van where I can pretty much put anything in the back of my van. I could probably get one of those smart cars in the back of my van if we really tried. But I think we've really got to be economical. I think we've got to look at an example of pallets. You know, people are throwing those things away. You know, how do we upcycle? How do we create an upcycle area of every one of our schools? You know, and sometimes it's wood, sometimes it's plastic. I know lots of schools that continue to collect murals out of them in their hallways. And, you know, that's an easy thing. It's a green thing. It means a lot of different things that you're trying to do. But, you know, ask your kids. Your students have so many ideas on what to do if we would just relinquish a little bit of trust and give them some space to own themselves.
I just tweeted a picture of Joe has a 360 camera above, I think, the computer there, or the camera. And so I just tweeted that out, and I wanted to say I missed what you talked about upstairs. Did you talk about what was upstairs?
Yeah. Yep. Covered that.
Yeah, yeah. And that is the mindfulness piece and the non-tech.
So,
I love
again,
that.
like right now there's a couple extra things up there that I want to get out. Once the winter's over, then I'll be able to be a little bit more flexible, and because some of the things go like literally outside. Because we don't have a shed. Like, this is the shed, this is the garage, you know, and I'm taking up, you know, a lot of the space of what we're doing, but I'm also, like you said, trying to learn. So one thing I didn't talk about that I think is super important. Growing up, my dad was a mechanic. He fixed lawnmowers. You know, I wasn't allowed in the garage. It was, and looking back, I totally understand it. There's a lot of stuff I can get hurt on. It just wasn't very kid friendly. The side I'm sitting on right now is Mark's side of the garage, Molly's side of the garage, Mickey's side of the garage, Keely's side of the garage. So this is the kids' side. So I'm allowed to do things over here, but I'm not allowed to set anything up over here. This is their side. They get to make, tinker, engineer. This side over here is kid friendly. So the whole thing, I want kids to be in here. Like last night I had 6 middle school kids in here because they were showing me how to put a transparent branding of the MD from Makerdads on my YouTube channel. So I'm surrounded by middle schoolers all over. So this makerspace, they were knocking today when they get in, and I was setting up. I was like, sorry guys, you know, I'm gonna look into putting hours up and have you guys come over whenever you want to within a certain amount of time. But that's kind of the culture that I want to create. You know, I want to give people a space to be able to make. Way in the back, you can't see, but there's lockers back there, and there's 6 lockers. In here, there's 6 workstations. So ideally, we could have all of my kids working in here with an adult and still have 2 other people come in and work. And the thing about making is you might start something and it might not be something you finish in an hour. It might not be something you finish in 3 hours. So, you know, with the locker, you can store your tools, you can store your apron, whatever your project, so to speak. And that's what we want to build. We want to build something where you can get to it when you have time, but you know, it isn't a kid space or a dad space. It's a place where you engage with your child. And I'm really excited about the conversations that are going to happen in here, the relationships that are going to grow in here. And, you know, I'm looking at, you know, how do we get community maker spaces in every community? Every one of our kids, you know, Adam Welcome, Todd Linton, Nessaloni, kids deserve that. Kids deserve to be able to make at home or at school. So making not as a school thing, making not as a home thing, but making as human. And where are all the places to do that? You know, one of our stations is bringing the community library and the school together. You know, if they're on separate islands, that's not good for kids. So we'll do everything we can to pull those together. And every one of the stops we've made so far, the community library has been a station on the van, so to speak. So we'll go the day before, we'll spend an hour at the community library, we'll bring all the resources to the school, and then we'll do the same thing from the school back to the library. And I'll make the connection we'll set up a meeting, and then I bring them along in our, those librarians have invites to our book chats as well. Because not every librarian in the community is hey, let's go make. A lot of the librarians still have the culture of, shh, you're in a quiet place. And that's not realistic in 2018. Libraries should be more like maker spaces than just places with big stacks of books and quiet signs. So, but yeah, that's what we're doing. I'm really active in our community too. I'm on the historical commission. I'm on the Cheltenham Sustainable Green. I don't know. I got some green award last year for the solar panels and whatnot we've got on our house. And then I'm starting to work with the libraries for the school library liaison here in Cheltenham. So I'm trying to walk the walk as a dad, as a community member. I can talk about community building, I can talk about family engagement, but if I'm not doing my part, if I'm not setting boundaries in my own house, if I'm not communicating and making with my kids, they'll blow this whole thing up themselves. So,
hey, Joe, speaking of your kids, I'd love to hear a little bit about what you're making with them. Yeah.
So my 5-year-old, he'll come in here for a half an hour, and he might be at 7 different stations in a half an hour. I'm super ADHD, and if I had to make a guess right now, he might be hanging with Dad in some of those areas. But he's really into Home Depot. He'll get up in the morning and he'll put his little Home Depot apron on. And this isn't his size. He's a lot bigger than this. But it's a lot of gift cards. But right now he's really into making cars. So instead of making pine wood derby cars like we made in Cub Scouts, we're actually making pallet wood cars. So all the pallets that we make, we put quotes on it, a lot of Brene Brown quotes that we're making for around classrooms, around different things. So a lot of extra wood we have just laying over. A lot of times we just throw this away. We use it for like an outdoor fire, but we can actually turn it into a car. So we'll make the wood out of the pallets, and then the wheels, we could buy those for $5.99 for a set from Pinewood Derby, or we could print them up on the printer. So we're trying to blend wood and 3D printing and just really good old-fashioned fun with Dad. So my father-in-law, on Sunday, we're going to start this 4-week process where we're making a Pinewood Derby track. And once we have that, then that'll become a new station on the van. And the station where kids make their own cars, we're going to put a Lego top on this, so then they can kind of design from there what the car actually looks like and whatnot. So he loves that. He's into cars. He's into, everything. He wants to do everything. He wants to be with me all the time. And I love that. I love hanging out with my kids. But, sometimes when you're running a business, you also need to be like, hey, dude, go hang with your brother and sisters for a couple minutes so I can get something done. But he's super cute. He's a busy kid, lots of imagination. Molly, she just got her first set of tools for Christmas. Santa brought her a big box of pink tools. So Molly has her toolbox, and Mark, because Makerdads, this is one question I get a lot so far. What about moms? Can moms make too? And well, absolutely. And I've got 2 daughters, so I know that there's a gap already, as it relates to STEM. And how I respond is, I'm a dad. I'll never claim to be a mom. I can't empathize with a mom. There's some things that they do that they have superpowers that I will never have. So I called it Makerdads because I want to bring fathers and kids closer together. And if we can do it through innovation, we can do it through maker spaces and building iLabs, getting out with the computer labs and in with maker spaces and innovations labs, and let's do it. We're having Maker Moms events in 3 of the 4 schools that we did in the fall, in the spring. So again, it has nothing to do with gender. It's really the ignition point. We're going into the school, we're lighting the pilot light on innovation during the 2-day in residence, and then I give them the report and the suggestions, what you can do, what's possible, what's feasible based on my objective look at your school. And then for 12 months, I'm going to support you in those goals. But that's it. That's what we're doing. And we're really busy. Since the article went out last week in the newspaper, Jenny's school, we've been getting 10 calls, 15 calls a day. And it's exciting, but I'm not used to answering the phone and telling people about it. So So
you're
yeah,
getting good practice though, you know?
yeah, but it's exciting work. I mean, it's human, right? It's not like my day job and my night job are different. You know, it's really, we're trying to merge them, but we're also trying to have balance. And we got to talk about Makerdads TV though. I don't know if we talked about that, but there's a reason this has all come about. It had nothing to do with Makerdads originally. Do you guys have, you know, kids love to watch other kids playing with toys?
Oh, they sure do.
Like on YouTube, they're like, we'll watch kids play with toys. They will watch moms and dads open toys and make funny noises and role play. And
one of my friends was just talking about that
for hours. Like if you woke up and handed him an iPad, I bet you he would still have it by the time I got back from work at the end of the day, because he just loves watching play. And I was trying to relate it to like me growing up. What did I play with and role play? And there was no YouTube, there was no internet, so we couldn't get that. But I did like play, and maybe the play that I saw was different. You know, I didn't use virtual reality, but I used the viewfinder, you know, to see visually, so to speak. So part of the reason for me opening up a Makerdads TV channel is to get him off of other channels watching toys. To actively involve him in creating media from a really young age, to really be honest and vulnerable about this is what it's like to shoot a weekly video with a 5-year-old, with a 3-year-old, with a 1-year-old, with a 1-year-old. So yeah, they will be shows where it will be kid friendly, because I want dads to watch these shows, and I'm talking shows 10, 20 minutes tops. We're not doing anything more than that. We don't have the capacity. But it's going to be very kid friendly. So we're going to be sharing ideas. We're going to be talking about the things that we're making. It's going to be close up. There's going to be a regular video alongside a 360 video. So if you have the headset, you can watch it and be super close up and immersed in it, knowing that 30 minutes is up. We don't want to use the VR anymore. That's kind of the rule of thumb that we're going with these days. But otherwise, you're going to be able to watch the video. I've been inspired by a lot of people on YouTube. Mr. Build It is the most recent one that I've kind of seen on YouTube. Give him a follow, Mr. Build It. He has these videos that he makes and he puts out on YouTube. They're like 7, 8, 9 minutes, but he's got great music. And I think that's what kind of hooked me, because I could watch him build and I could be doing my own thing here in the garage, and the music, I just blasted because it was all instrumental. It was just kind of lots of beats and kept me moving and whatnot. So Makerdads TV, we're going to go on live at 3 o'clock tomorrow. So anybody watching live, we're going to have a 3 o'clock Friday show, helping dads go from work daddy to at home engaged daddy. And that's the premise of Dads on Deck, the podcast that we started a couple months ago. It's really to help dads think about, hey, I need to unplug. I need to be present. I need to be mindful. I need to have balance. I need to have the difficult conversation. I can't just hope my kids get a good experience with me as their dad. I've actually have to put in the time, and I've got to admit I'm wrong and say I'm sorry, and really kind of get into the relationship a little bit. So that's kind of all of it. There's a lot of moving parts, but hopefully by the end of 12 months, everything will kind of be seamless. Right now, we're just doing it a day at a time, just really concentrating on the work and concentrating on really supporting teachers. I want those teachers at the end of the 12 months to say, oh my gosh, like that was the best year of PD, hands down, I've ever had in my career, and get Makerdads back next year so we can not only plan more parent events, but also work on another chapter of our own professional learning. So yeah, so that's it. This is my classroom right here.
I want to comment, Joe, on something you said. You said that Mark wants to do everything.
Yeah.
And that's what we don't see in schools. The kids pull back because they can't do what they can't get involved hands-on. And I was speaking with somebody from the National Inventors Hall of Fame, and they polled people that are in the Hall of Fame, and they said, what did it for you? Like what turned the tide for you? And they tied it to like when they were 6 to 8 and they got to tinker with things and make things, and they had a little guidance. So, kudos to you and for what you're doing to support, the teachers and the dads. And I do want to ask you a question about the dads. So sure. You said you went out to California, I think, and you had like 200 dads there, right?
Yeah, the most recent one, we had 200 signed in. We had 200 actually sign in
there.
At the Delaware school. That was the most recent one. The one in California, I drove out there, and there's an escape room in every one of these. That's one of the stations is an escape room. We use Breakout EDU to create an escape room. And one of the pictures we put out from Delaware, there was a line like literally down the hallway. So we're glad we had the escape room, like not in the gym, like somewhere else. Because like looking at crowd control and whatnot, we're taking 10 kids at a time, 10 kids, 10 dads, and they were doing the breakout room, there, and they had to all escape. And but again, like that's the way that we get things like Breakout EDU launched in a school. We've got to make a splash. We've got to make a reason and show the teachers that whatever challenging population you have, making lowers, period. When you're busy, when you're tinkering, there's a certain level of dopamine. There's a lot of neuroscience that supports this kind of work in a lot of different ways, not just for elementary, middle school, and high school kids. And that's why adults have to be just as much a part of building a makerspace or an innovations lab as the kids. We can't create a room unless we're looking at that room being in beta for every learner, whether they're a grandparent or whether they are a pre-K kid. So yeah, it looks different everywhere, and that's the planning process. It's about a 2-3 month planning process, depending on what we're doing. We'll meet basically weekly over Skype, and the kids really are responsible, as we hone the model here to really choose what's coming to their school so they can take ownership and own it moving forward, and have it really be a kid's effort, not necessarily an adult. They can't move until the adults do this or do that.
Joe, I'm curious about what the dads thought. Like, what was the feedback from the dads that, you had 200 dads signed in? What did they think about this whole experience? Because that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think we got a couple interviews. We put them on the Facebook sites, facebook.com/Makerdads, and just talking about, hey, we've never been specifically asked to come out before, aside from like maybe donuts with dads or something in the morning. But more importantly, if you're trying to change the culture, you're going to need to empower those dads to take ownership of that space, of what innovation looks like in your school to pull this off. You're going to need moms, you're going to need dads, you're going to need grandparents. You're going to need people in the community. So I think the ask is appreciated, but when the kids go home, because this was, I think, and Jenny Nam, and I don't know if she's watching, but if you talk to her, she'll tell you that there was a Cub Scout night. And usually on Cub Scout nights, if that coincides with a school event, you're not going to have very many people come to the school event. So all the Cub Scouts came to our event and didn't go to their Cub Scout event. And the dads, basically, they came home from school, because again, during the day, we're building that taste. We're helping them, we're giving them a taste of all the sessions, but we're going to tell them, hey, you come back tonight, you spend 6 to 8 here, 6 to 9, you're going to be able to spend as much time as you want here. You got to be here with dad, you got to be here with granddad, you got to be here with other male role model. And if they can't be there, of course. But yeah, so the feedback has been, this is great. What are we doing next? And then you see Todd Schmidt doing cardboard night, doing steam night, doing all, there's lots of different things that we can do. We're going to have a palette night coming up. We're going to have an upcycle night. We're going to have a BYOP, bring your own palette. So there's lots of things that we can do. I think we just have to get that initial splash going and then solicit our people in our community for what we can do next. Find the makers in the community. The Makerdads channel is all going out to the community and capturing the makers through the eyes, through their 360 lens, bringing them back, putting it out on YouTube. So any one of our partner schools can see through the eyes of the maker. Next week's show will be on the pizza shop. The following week, we've got an invite from the police department. So we're going to go through the eyes of a police officer for 5 minutes. So again, we want to create a giant library. And if we have all the schools working together, developing content, then it's personalized. So.
Well, I'm incredibly impressed by all that you're doing and just everything that you're doing to bring the community in. And just to switch gears a little bit, I know, and Laura and I both know, that you collaborated with 10 other phenomenal educators to co-author the new release of Edie Right Now. So in it, you wrote a chapter on mental health. Could you just speak to us about the experience and why you chose to write on that topic?
Yeah, and that's pretty much the shortest answer I can give you. Why is there a mindfulness floor above me? You know, why is there an unplug, reflection area? Is because we all need to put the oxygen mask on ourselves before we help the kids in our care. You know, whether we're at home as parents, whether it's school teaching, you know, if I'm not modeling balance, if I'm not modeling good habits, you know, at work and at home, my kids are going to do the same thing as I do for the most part. You know, so we see the situation in America. We see how the world has evolved in terms of don't talk about mental health, be perfect, you know, 13 Reasons Why. We want to run away from that show as if we shouldn't let the kids see it because that's going to solve the problem. Instead of saying, you know what, that was out and we have another chance this year, instead of ignoring it and sending the form letter out that says, hey, this is coming out, make sure your kids don't watch Netflix. Okay, or your kids are not going to watch Netflix. As the highest rated show of all teenage kids last year, 13 Reasons Why. So instead of in the schools using a 2-minute clip to start a conversation, we're still sending letters home. So my work and what you'll see in that chapter, if you get it, and it's the hashtag Ed Right Now, right as in WRITE. Jeff Zoll and I collaborated on the idea. Rutledge supported it, and we got some amazing educators to come together before the principals conference, and everybody puts in a chapter. And we were in a hotel for 48 hours. We came out on the other side, and we all wrote a chapter. I think mine's the shortest because I just get too distracted to stay on any longer than a couple hours. Well, I don't have a book out yet, Laura. But anyway, it's great, and we're excited about it. We're actually going to launch a Twitter chat coming up. That's a series, probably in March to start that off, and kind of lead us into the new one, because there's another group of 10 educators. We're going to make it an annual thing. It's going to be around the principals conference, and this year, hopefully, we've got a topic about making and whatnot. So yeah, it's exciting work. Love working with colleagues, and every one of those people. For the most part, I knew before, but I got to know them at a deeper level. And when you get chemistry involved with book creation, that's really powerful. And the people that wrote that book are in it because they want to see change. They don't want to do the status quo. They don't want to see the education system that they grew up experience. They want a different one for kids. And although mine are young and likely will not see the great changes that I hope to see in our field of education, hopefully the things that we're doing, you know, spread like wildfire. And a lot of us are using social media to do that. But we also know that people buy books that have never been on social media. So we're trying to be inclusive and really kind of take connected and unconnected people to author that edition every summer. And I think you'll see that represented in next year's book as well. But Ed Right Now, awesome book. Lead Learners will be out this summer. Hopefully, I feel like I've been saying that for 10 years. Derek McCoy and I have been written Lead Learners, and really the book is based on creating a culture of empathy, innovation, and empowerment. So again, that is the Makerdads culture. That is what we're looking to build. It jives. That's really the work that I think through on a daily basis and support other educators and parents on.
I have to make a comment about the upstairs. I assume you're bringing that into the schools as well, that piece about having like a meditation room.
Cindy Goldberg is a mindfulness coach here in Cheltenham, and she came to the event at Wyncote Elementary School, the event in October. That was the very last outside event we did. So it got extremely cold after that. And we're sitting there talking about mindfulness, and the superintendent said, hey, meet Cindy. She does mindfulness across all the elementary schools. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that absolutely needs to be a station in every makerspace. Why wouldn't you not only teach it, but it fits? You know, you can't smell my orange essential oils that are going right now in here. But I'm a dude that is finally like, you know what? Neuroscience, I'm tired of ignoring neuroscience. And, you know, everything from mindfulness to oils to the T25 that my wife made me do 2 nights ago that I still can't walk. We gotta take care of ourselves, and it's hard. Life is busy, and we gotta just do the best that we can. So mental health stuff, I've always been passionate about that. Nick Provenzano and I really started talking that up on social media a couple years ago. And hopefully we're going to be able to do even more work with EDU and really helping other educators out there with anxiety and mental health issues and depression and ADHD, and really not solve it for them, but we need to give them a try. They need to have other people out there that they know are having a hard time getting up in the morning, feeling worthless, feeling like you're just not good enough to carry out what you need and should do. And there's other people out there that are battling it. So, branch out. Don't go at it yourself.
Well, Joe, I'm so inspired by what you're doing on all fronts, Maker, mental health. And we're going to kind of segue out of this. As we wrap up, would you please share with listeners how they can connect with you and what's coming up in the future? Sure.
So Makerdads is Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you follow whatever network you're on. Starting tomorrow, we have our YouTube 360 channel launching, and all you gotta do is look for Makerdads, and that'll pop up. We're looking to do that weekly. Might turn into monthly. It just depends on how busy we are and what we're doing. We're trying to be really proactive about balance. And really just follow along with the pictures and what we're doing. We're constantly posting pictures. If you're a dad, a granddad, another male role model that's watching, and you're on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, when you're working with your kids on something, whether they're at school or at home, like post something. Show us what you're doing, because I follow that tag, Makerdads, to find other dads doing work that maybe I could do, or maybe I can put that on our queue to do, down the road. So join the movement, join the initiative. Making is good for the soul, and build it together. Find all the ways in your community that you can make. Most of those don't cost a penny. And get out in your neighborhood. The weather's starting to get nicer. Hopefully spring's coming around. Figure out who the makers are in your neighborhood. I'm our lead on the nextdoor.com community in our neighborhood, and we just added a folder that is find the makers. If you're making something at work, if you're making something at home, like what are you making? And maybe we can kind of bring those communities together from a small scale. Finally, if you are a dad that really wants to kind of take the next step in this and learn, 50 different ways to make with your kids, we're going to do a 2-day retreat this summer, August 3rd and 4th. It's going to be here at St. James Elementary School. It's one of those Catholic elementary schools that closed down, like so many around us have. We're going to bring it back to life with kids and dads and teachers for 2 days in August. So you'll learn more about that in March, but we're putting the wheels on that right now. And if you're a Pennsylvania educator watching, we're going to be at Cabrini College March 21st for the PAASCD. We're basically having Makerdads open house, and you'll be able to come in and make stuff. So join us.
Wow, lots of opportunities to connect and join in the maker movement. So Joe, thank you so much for joining LeadUpTeach tonight. I know our audience enjoyed hearing about your personal journey, and a huge thank you to our amazing audience who tuned in tonight on LeadUpTeach on YouTube.
We will share out tonight's LeadUpTeach episode on Twitter using the hashtag LeadUpTeach. We are excited to announce the date and time of our next LeadUpTeach episode and want everyone to go ahead and mark their calendars. Episode 32 will air on Saturday, March 3rd at 9 a.m. Central Time, Joe, in conjunction
I totally blew that.
LeadUpChat. We look forward to welcoming.
I literally thought it was 9:30 though. Like I was like, all right, I'm going to take a little break.
We look forward to welcoming Rich Chiz, author of 4 O'Clock Faculty, all sorts of great stuff on PD. So that's Saturday morning, March 3rd, 9 a.m. Central Time.
Yes, and we encourage everyone to check out the past LeadUpTeach episodes on our YouTube channel and to subscribe to the LeadUpTeach podcast on iTunes so you can listen to past interviews on the go.
Well, everyone have a terrific night, and thanks again for joining us. Joe, thank you again. And we are signing off. Good night, everybody. Lead on and lead up.
Take care, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you.